The alarm bells rang through the giant space station called Nexus Prime. Ambassador. Zethkar rushed down the long metal hallway, his 6 legs clicking against the floor with each step. His blue skin looked pale under the bright lights. Something big was happening, and he could feel it in his bones. The Galactic Council chamber was already full when he arrived. Thousands of different alien beings sat in their special seats, talking loudly to each other. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with strange lights. All of them looked worried. For 3,000 years, the Council had kept peace between 47 different species across the galaxy. They had rules for everything. They had ways to handle any problem, but today was different. Order! Order! Zethkar called out, hitting his staff on the ground 3 times. The noise slowly died down. We are here because of the unknown ship that appeared at the edge of what they call Terran space. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a silver ship that looked nothing like any vessel they had ever seen. It was sleek and smooth, with strange blue lights along its sides. The ship was much smaller than their own vessels, but somehow it felt more dangerous. This ship, Zethkar continued, belongs to a species that calls themselves humans. They have asked to meet with us. They say they come in peace. Counselor Vextani, a tall bird-like creature with golden feathers, stood up. How did they find us? We never sent them our location. That is the problem, Zethkar said. They found us on their own. They have technology we do not understand. They travel between stars faster than anyone in our records. Meanwhile, millions of miles away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant. He was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes. He had been in the Space Navy for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Captain, we're getting close to their station, said Lieutenant Lisa Parker from her seat at the communications desk. She was young, maybe 25, with red hair tied back in a neat bun. It's huge, sir. Much bigger than anything we've ever built. Jake looked out the front window of his ship. The alien station was like a small city floating in space. It had spinning sections and thousands of lights. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like busy insects. How many people do you think live there? Asked Dr. Helen Cross, who was standing next to Jake. She was the ship's head scientist, a woman in her 40s with gray hair and sharp eyes. The computer says maybe 2 million, Lisa answered. But it's hard to tell. The station is so big that our sensors can't map all of it. Jake nodded slowly. His ship carried 200 people, all chosen carefully for this mission. They were the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, diplomats, soldiers, and engineers. All of them were nervous, but they tried not to show it. Captain, said Chief Engineer Ryan Bell from the back of the bridge. He was a short man with thick glasses and oil stains on his uniform. Their docking instructions are coming through. They want us to dock at Port 7. Can we trust them? Jake asked. Sir, they could have destroyed us already if they wanted to, Ryan said. Our ship is tiny compared to that station. If they meant harm, we would already be dead. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council was still arguing. Some members wanted to welcome the humans. Others wanted to send them away. A few even suggested they should be destroyed before they could cause trouble. We must be careful, said Admiral Korthak, a massive creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. These humans developed faster than light travel on their own. No species has ever done that before. Every other race needed our help. That's exactly why we should welcome them, said Dr. Yumla, a small creature with tentacles instead of arms. Think of what we could learn from them. Or think of what they could do to us, Korthak growled back. Zethkar had been quiet during the argument. He was reading reports about the humans on his personal computer. What he saw made him more worried. With each page, the humans had only discovered space travel a few hundred years ago. Most species took thousands of years to reach the stars. But these humans had moved fast. Very fast. They had built cities on their moon. They had sent ships to other planets in their system. They had even built stations around their sun to collect energy. Most disturbing of all, they had built artificial minds. Computer brains that could think like living beings. The Council had banned such technology long ago. It was too dangerous. They have what they call artificial intelligence, Zethkar announced to the Council. The chamber fell silent. They have built thinking machines. Whispers spread through the crowd. Artificial intelligence was forbidden. Every species that joined the Council had to promise never to build thinking machines. Perhaps they do not know our laws, suggested Councillor Murdoch, a creature that looked like a walking tree. We could teach them. Or perhaps they do not care about our laws, Korthik said. On the Defiant, Jake was getting ready to meet the aliens. He wore his best uniform, with all his medals and ribbons. Dr. Cross stood beside him, carrying a briefcase full of gifts from Earth, music, art, and examples of human culture. Are you ready for this, Captain? She asked. Jake smiled, but she could see he was nervous. As ready as anyone can be for the most important moment in human history. Lisa looked up from her station. Captain, we're getting a message from the station. They're sending an escort to guide us in. Through the window they could see small alien ships approaching. The ships were graceful and smooth, unlike the angular design of human vessels. They formed a pattern around the Defiant and began to lead it toward the station. They're being very polite, Dr. Cross observed. That's a good sign. As they got closer to the station, Jake could see more details. The metal was not like anything humans used. It seemed to change color in the light. There were gardens visible through transparent sections. Plants from dozens of different worlds grew together in impossible combinations. Sir, Ryan called out, their docking port is designed for ships much bigger than ours. We're going to look like a toy next to their vessels. Jake nodded. He had expected this. Earth's technology was new. These aliens had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Of course, their ships would be bigger. But as the Defiant approached the docking port, something strange happened. The alien ships that were supposed to be much more advanced looked old. Their designs were simple, almost primitive. They were big, yes, but they seemed to be built for size rather than efficiency. That's interesting, Dr. Cross said quietly. Their ships are actually quite basic. We might be more advanced than we thought. On Nexus Prime, Zethkar was reading the final reports about the humans. What he found made his blood run cold. These humans had fought wars with each other for their entire history. They had built weapons that could destroy entire planets. They had conquered their homeworld not through cooperation, but through strength. And now they were here, at the heart of galactic civilization, in their fast ships with their thinking machines and their weapons of war. Council members, Zethkar announced, we have a problem. These humans are not like us. They are not peaceful. They are warriors. The chamber erupted in noise again. Some aliens called for the humans to be sent away immediately. Others wanted to learn more. A few brave souls suggested that maybe warriors were exactly what the galaxy needed. But Zethkar was not listening to the arguments. He was watching the screen that showed the human ship docking with their station. In a few minutes he would meet these strange beings face to face. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace by making sure everyone followed the same rules. Everyone gave up the same dangerous technologies. Everyone agreed to solve problems with words, not weapons. Now, for the first time, they were about to meet a species that had never agreed to their rules. A species that had kept all the dangerous technologies the Council had banned. Zethkar took a deep breath and prepared to meet the humans. He had no idea that this moment would change everything the Council thought they knew about civilization. Peace and survival in a dangerous universe. The age of easy answers was about to end. The docking bay was enormous. Captain Jake Morrison stepped off his ship and looked around in wonder. The ceiling stretched up so high that it disappeared into darkness. Ships of every size and shape filled the space, but none of them looked like the Defiant. Stay close, Jake whispered to his team. Dr. Helen Cross walked beside him, her briefcase of Earth gifts held tightly in her hands. Behind them came Ambassador Patricia Stone, a calm woman in her 50s who had spent years preparing for this moment. "Captain Morrison," a voice called out in perfect English. Jake turned to see a tall alien walking toward them. It had blue skin and 6 legs, but its face was almost human-like. "I am Ambassador Zethkar. Welcome to Nexus Prime." Jake stepped forward and extended his hand. "Thank you for having us. We're honored to be here." Zethkar looked at the offered hand with confusion. Dr. Cross quickly whispered, "It's how we greet people." You take his hand and shake it gently. The alien ambassador carefully took Jake's hand. His skin felt cool and smooth. "Ah, a greeting ritual. We have learned something already." They walked through long corridors filled with aliens of every type imaginable. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others slithered along the floor or floated in the air. A few were so strange that Jake couldn't tell which end was the head. "How many different species live here?" Dr. Cross asked. 47 different races call Nexus Prime home," Zethkar replied. "Each has been evaluated and accepted into our council over the past 3,000 years. "Evaluated?" Ambassador Stone asked. "What does that mean?" Zethkar stopped walking and turned to face them. "Every species that wishes to join our council must pass certain tests. We need to know if you are ready to be part of galactic civilization." They entered a huge chamber with thousands of seats arranged in circles. Aliens of every type sat watching as the humans walked to the center. Jake felt like he was in a giant courtroom with thousands of judges staring down at him. "Don't be nervous," Ambassador Stone whispered. "Remember, we're representing all of humanity." A new alien approached them. This one looked like a giant bird with golden feathers and bright yellow eyes. "I am Counselor Vextani. I will conduct your first evaluation." Jake nodded. "What do we need to do?" Vextani gestured to a large screen that appeared in the air. Complex mathematical equations filled the display. Numbers and symbols that Jake didn't recognize covered every inch of the screen. "This is a problem that tests your species' ability to think logically," Vextani explained. "Most new species take several years to solve it. You have as much time as you need." Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell stepped forward. He was a short man with thick glasses who loved solving puzzles. "May I try, Captain?" Jake nodded. Ryan walked up to the screen and studied the equations. He took out a small computer and began typing. "These aren't that difficult," Ryan said quietly. "It's just calculus with some creative thinking." The alien council members whispered among themselves. Ryan continued working, his fingers moving quickly over his computer. After 47 minutes, he looked up. "I think I have it," Ryan announced. He touched the screen and entered his answer. The screen turned bright green. A chime sounded throughout the chamber. Vextani's feathers ruffled with surprise. "That is ... correct. How did you solve it so quickly?" Ryan shrugged. "We learned this kind of math in school. It's not really that hard once you understand the pattern." Whispers spread throughout the chamber. Jake could hear aliens talking in languages he didn't understand, but their tone sounded worried. "The second test," Vextani announced, "involves diplomatic skills." A new scenario appeared on the screen. It showed 2 groups of aliens arguing over water rights on a distant planet. The situation was complex, with both sides having valid claims. "Ambassador Stone," Jake said, "this is your specialty." "Patricia." Stone stepped forward and studied the scenario carefully. She asked several questions about the planet's history and the needs of both groups. Then she made her recommendation. "Both groups need water to survive," she said. "But they're thinking about this wrong. Instead of fighting over existing water sources, they should work together to find new ones. Look here," she pointed to the screen. "This area hasn't been explored. There might be underground water sources that could supply both groups." The screen changed to show geological surveys of the area Patricia had indicated. Sure enough, there were massive underground lakes that neither group had discovered. Furthermore, Patricia continued, the 2 groups have different skills. One group is good at digging, the other is good at purifying water. If they work together, they could build a system that benefits everyone." Vextani stared at the screen in amazement. In 3,000 years, no species has ever suggested looking for new resources. They all focused on dividing what already existed. Sometimes the best solution is to change the problem, Patricia said with a smile. The third test came from Admiral Korthak, the massive bear-like creature. This is a military simulation, he growled. It has never been completed successfully by any species on their first attempt. The screen showed a complex battle scenario. Enemy ships were attacking a peaceful colony. The defenders were outnumbered and outgunned. I'll take this one, Jake said. He called over Sergeant First Class Danny Wright, a quiet soldier who had been standing near the back of the group. Danny, what do you think? Danny studied the scenario for a few minutes. Captain, they're trying to fight a traditional battle. But look at the terrain. The colony is built in an asteroid field. What are you thinking? Jake asked. We don't need to fight their ships directly, Danny explained. We can use the asteroids as weapons. A few small explosions in the right places would create a chain reaction. The enemy ships would be destroyed by flying rocks, not by our weapons. Jake nodded. Do it. Danny entered his strategy into the computer. The simulation played out exactly as he had predicted. The enemy ships were destroyed by cascading asteroid impacts. While the colony remained completely safe, the chamber fell silent. Admiral Korthak stared at the screen in disbelief. That should not have worked. You violated several established rules of space combat. Rules? Danny asked. I didn't know there were rules, I just tried to win. You used the environment as a weapon, Korthak said. That is not how civilized beings conduct warfare. With respect, sir, Danny replied, dead civilized beings are still dead. Dr. Cross had been quietly observing the aliens during the tests. What she saw worried her. These beings were incredibly advanced in some ways, but they seemed to think in very limited patterns. Captain, she whispered, I think we need to talk privately. During a break in the testing, Jake's team gathered in a small room the aliens had provided for them. Dr. Cross shared her observations. They're not testing. U.S., she said, they're testing whether we think like them. What do you mean? Patricia asked. Look at their reactions, Dr. Cross continued. Ryan solved their math problem too quickly. Patricia found a solution they never considered. Danny won their military simulation by breaking their rules. They're not impressed by our abilities. They're frightened by them, Jake frowned. Are you saying they don't want us to pass their tests? I'm saying they designed these tests for species that think exactly like they do, Dr. Cross replied. We're not failing their tests, we're passing them too well. Communication Officer Lisa Parker had been monitoring alien communications during the tests. Captain, I've been listening to their radio chatter. They're scared. They keep talking about how we're not like other species. What makes us different? Jake asked. We don't follow their patterns, Lisa said. Every other species that joined their council was peaceful from the beginning. They gave up military technology and advanced research in exchange for safety and cooperation. And we haven't, Jake realized. Exactly, Dr. Cross said. We've kept our weapons, our competitive nature, and our willingness to break rules to solve problems. To them, we're unpredictable. That makes us dangerous. Back in the main chamber, the aliens were having their own private discussion. Zethkar was reading reports from the evaluation team. They solved the mathematical problem in less than an hour, he said. They found a diplomatic solution that none of our experts ever considered. They won the military simulation by using tactics we never imagined. So they are intelligent, Vextani said. That is good. No, Zethkar replied. They are too intelligent. They think differently than we do. They see possibilities we cannot imagine. Admiral Korthak nodded grimly. The human soldier broke every rule of civilized warfare. But he won. That is what matters to them. Results, not methods. What should we do? Vextani asked. I do not know, Zethkar admitted. For 3,000 years, we have evaluated species that wanted to join our peaceful civilization. These humans are already more advanced than most of our members. They do not need us. The question is whether we need them. When the testing resumed, Jake noticed that the aliens seemed more nervous than before. Their questions were more careful, their reactions more guarded. Is everything all right? He asked Zethkar. The alien ambassador hesitated. Captain Morrison, your species has performed exceptionally well on our evaluations. Perhaps too well. Is that a problem? Jake asked. The private council chambers had never seen such heated debate. Ambassador Zethkar sat at the head of a long table surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Their voices echoed off the metal walls as they argued about what to do with the humans. This is exactly what we feared would happen, Admiral Korthik growled, his massive claws scraping against the table. A species that refuses to follow our rules. They will destroy everything we have built. Counselor Vextani ruffled her golden feathers nervously. But they passed our tests. They solved problems we could not solve. Perhaps we should listen to what they have to say. Listen to warriors? Korthik snorted. They think like predators. They see everything as something to be conquered. Chief. Technician Morden, a small creature with multiple eyes, looked up from his computer screen. I have been studying their ship while they sleep. What I found is disturbing. The room fell silent. Morden was known for his calm personality. If he was worried, there was good reason. Their ship is generating power levels that should be impossible, Morden continued. According to our calculations, they would need a station the size of Nexus Prime to create that much energy. But their ship is tiny compared to ours. How is that possible? Zethkar asked. They have developed technologies we abandoned long ago, Morden replied. Their power source appears to be based on controlled fusion reactions. We banned that technology 2,000 years ago because it was too dangerous. Dr. Yinla, the small tentacled creature, spoke up. What else did you find? Morden's eyes dimmed with worry. Their computer systems are not just advanced. They are alive. They have created artificial minds that can think and learn. The ship's computer was watching me while I scanned their vessel. Whispers spread around the table. Artificial intelligence was the most forbidden technology in the galaxy. The council had banned it after several species nearly destroyed themselves, trying to create thinking machines. There's more, Morden said quietly. I detected weapons systems throughout their ship. Not just defense systems, weapons designed to destroy other ships. They came here prepared for war. Meanwhile, in their guest quarters, the humans were having their own discussion. Dr. Helen Cross had spent the evening analyzing everything they had learned about the aliens. Captain, I think we need to talk, she said to Jake Morrison. I've, been studying their technology and I'm concerned. Jake looked up from his report. What did you find? Their technology is incredibly old, Dr. Cross said. I mean ancient. They've been using the same basic systems for thousands of years. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell joined the conversation. She's right, Captain. I've been looking at their ship designs. They're huge, but they're not efficient. It's like they built everything to last forever instead of building it to work better. What do you mean? Jake asked. Look at their power systems, Ryan explained. They use basic fusion reactors that we replaced 50 years ago. Their computers are massive but slow. Their weapons ... He paused. Captain, I don't think they have any weapons. Dr. Cross nodded. That's what I discovered too. This entire station, all their ships, everything we've seen, it's all designed for exploration and trade. There's no military technology anywhere. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Benjamin Clark had been examining the medical files the aliens had shared. Captain, their biology is fascinating but also concerning. Each species is perfectly adapted to their homeworld, but they can't adapt to new environments. What does that mean? Jake asked. Humans can live on desert worlds, ice worlds, jungle worlds, Dr. Clark explained. We adapt. These aliens can't. If you take a species away from their perfect environment, they need life support systems just to survive. Ambassador Patricia Stone had been quietly listening to the conversation. They've created a stable civilization, but they've given up the ability to grow and change. That's exactly right, Dr. Cross said. They've chosen safety over advancement. They've deliberately limited their own development to prevent conflict. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They're not just peaceful, they've made themselves helpless. And now they want us to do the same, Patricia said. The next morning, Jake and his team met with the council for their final evaluation. The chamber seemed different now. The aliens looked nervous, almost frightened. Captain Morrison, Sethkar began, we have reviewed your performance on our tests. You have exceeded our expectations in every category. Thank you, Jake replied. We're honored by your evaluation. However, Sethkar continued, we have some concerns about your technology. Jake exchanged glances with his team. They had expected this. What kind of concerns? Jake asked. Admiral Korthik stood up. Your ship contains technologies that we banned long ago, weapon systems, artificial intelligence, power sources that could be used to destroy entire worlds. Our technology is designed to protect us, Jake said calmly. We've never used it to attack innocent people. But you could, Korthik replied. That is the problem. You have the power to destroy everything we have built. Dr. Cross stepped forward. May I ask you something? How do you defend yourselves against external threats? The chamber fell silent. The aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. We have no external threats, Vextani said finally. We are the only advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. But what if that changes? Dr. Cross asked. What if you encounter a species that doesn't share your peaceful values? That is why we have the Council, Sethkar explained. Every species that reaches the stars eventually finds us. We evaluate them and invite them to join our civilization. It has worked for 3,000 years. Until now, Jake said quietly. What do you mean? Sethkar asked. We didn't find you, Jake explained. You found us. We were already traveling between stars before we knew you existed. We developed our technology independently. What if there are other species out there who did the same thing? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. For 3,000 years, the Council had believed their way was the only way. They had assumed that any species advanced enough to travel between stars would eventually seek them out and join their peaceful civilization. What if you encounter a species that chooses war over peace? Patricia asked. What if they decide they want to conquer your worlds instead of joining your council? That would not happen, Korthik said, but his voice lacked conviction. How do you know? Dr. Cross asked. Have you explored the entire galaxy? Have you contacted every species that might exist? The aliens looked uncomfortable. They had never considered these possibilities. We have created a perfect society, Vextani said. We have eliminated war, poverty, and suffering. Why would anyone choose differently? Because not everyone wants the same things, Jake said. Some species might value freedom over safety. Some might prefer competition over cooperation. Some might believe that strength is more important than peace. Like you, Sethkar said. Like us, Jake agreed. We value peace, but we're not willing to give up our ability to defend ourselves to achieve it, Chief Technician Morden spoke up. Captain, your technology is dangerous. Your artificial intelligence could turn against you. Your weapons could destroy entire civilizations. Your power sources could explode and take whole star systems with them. You're right, Jake said. Our technology is dangerous. But so is being helpless. What do you mean? Morden asked. Ryan Bell stepped forward. Sir, with respect, your civilization is incredibly vulnerable. You have no defenses, no military technology, no way to protect yourselves against a hostile species. We have numbers, Korthik said. 47 species working together. 47 peaceful species, Danny Wright said quietly. The soldier had been silent until now. You've built something beautiful here. You've created a civilization based on cooperation instead of competition. But you've also created the perfect target for anyone who doesn't share your values. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some aliens demanded that the humans leave immediately. Others wanted to hear more about these theoretical threats. Silence, Sethkar called out. Let them speak, Danny continued. You've achieved peace by giving up the tools of war. That works as long as everyone agrees to the same rules. But what happens when someone doesn't agree? We would negotiate, Vextani said. What if they don't want to negotiate? Danny asked. What if they just want to take what you have? That is not how civilized beings behave, Korthik growled. You're right, Danny said. Civilized beings don't behave that way. But what if you meet someone who isn't civilized? Dr. Cross pulled out her computer and showed the aliens a star. Map, this is our galaxy. It contains over 100 billion stars. You've contacted 47 species. We've contacted one, you. How many species do you think are out there that neither of us has met? The aliens stared at the map in shock. They had never thought about the scale of the galaxy beyond their own small corner of it. Most of them are probably peaceful like you, Dr. Cross continued. But statistics suggest that at least a few might be different. At least a few might choose war over peace. And when that happens, Jake said, you'll need someone to protect you. Someone who hasn't given up the tools of war. You're saying we need you, Zethkar said slowly. We're saying we need each other. Chief Engineer Ryan Bell couldn't sleep. Something about the alien station bothered him, but he couldn't figure out what it was. Finally, he gave up trying to rest and decided to do a routine system scan of the Defiant. What he found made his blood run cold. Captain Morrison, Ryan called over the ship's communication system. You need to see this right away. Jake hurried to the engine room, still wearing his sleeping clothes. What's wrong, Ryan? Captain, I was doing a standard scan of our systems, Ryan said, his voice shaking slightly. But the scan picked up the station's defensive systems too. And? Jake asked. Sir, they don't have any. Ryan pointed to his computer screen. No weapons, no shields, no defensive systems at all. The entire station is completely defenseless. Jake stared at the readings in disbelief. That can't be right. A station this size with this many people? They have to have some kind of protection. I've checked 3 times, Ryan said. There's nothing. No energy weapons, no missile systems, no defensive barriers, nothing. Maybe their weapons are powered down, Jake suggested. No, sir, Ryan replied. I can detect the power connections. There are no weapons to power up? This station was never designed for combat. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Get Dr. Cross and Ambassador Stone. We need to talk about this. 20 minutes later, Jake's senior staff gathered in the ship's conference room. Ryan shared his discovery with the group. You're saying the most important station in the galaxy has no defenses at all? Dr. Helen Cross asked. None, Ryan confirmed. And it's not just the station. I scanned their ships too. The biggest ones are just cargo vessels. The smaller ones are scouts and research ships. I haven't found a single military vessel. Ambassador. Patricia Stone leaned back in her chair. They weren't lying when they said they were peaceful. They've actually given up the ability to fight. But why? Dr. Cross asked. How do they protect themselves? Maybe they don't need to, Jake said. Slowly, maybe they've never faced a real threat. Communication Officer Lisa Parker had been monitoring alien communications since they arrived. Captain, I've been listening to their radio chatter. They seem genuinely confused by our questions about external threats. They keep talking about how they're the only advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. What about other parts of the galaxy? Dr. Cross asked. They don't seem to have explored very far, Lisa replied. Most of their maps show empty space beyond their territory. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see alien ships moving peacefully around the station. None of them looked like warships. They all seemed designed for exploration, trade, or research. They've created a bubble, he said finally, a safe space where they can live in peace. But they've never looked beyond the edges of that bubble. And they've never had to, Patricia added. For 3,000 years, every species they've met has joined their peaceful civilization. They've never encountered anyone who chose differently. Dr. Benjamin Clark, the ship's medical officer, had been quiet during the discussion. I've been thinking about their biology, he said. Each species is perfectly adapted to their homeworld, but they can't survive in different environments. That limits how far they can expand. What do you mean? Jake asked. Think about it, Dr. Clark continued. If a species can only survive in very specific conditions, they can't easily explore new worlds. They have to build massive life support systems just to visit other planets. That makes exploration slow and expensive. So they stay close to home, Dr. Cross realized. They only explore worlds that are similar to what they already know. Exactly, Dr. Clark said. But humans are different. We can adapt to almost any environment. We can explore worlds that would kill most other species. Ryan looked up from his computer. That explains why their ships are so big. They're not just ships, they're mobile habitats. They have to carry their entire home environment with them wherever they go. While we can live almost anywhere, Jake said, we don't need massive life support systems. The implications were staggering. The galactic civilization had not only given up military technology, they were also physically limited in how far they could explore. They had created a peaceful bubble around their homeworlds, but they had never looked beyond the edges of that bubble. Captain, Lisa said quietly, what if there are other species out there? Species that aren't limited like these aliens are? Species that can explore the entire galaxy? Species like us, Jake said grimly. The next morning, Jake requested a private meeting with Ambassador Zethkar. They met in a small room with windows overlooking the docking bay. Jake could see the Defiant far below, tiny compared to the alien vessels around it. Ambassador, Jake began, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Zethkar's blue skin seemed to grow paler. I suspect I know what you want to discuss. Your station has no defenses, Jake said directly. None of your ships are designed for combat. You've not just chosen peace, you've made war impossible for yourselves. Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. You are correct, he said finally. We made that choice long ago. Why? Jake asked. Because war nearly destroyed us, Zethkar replied. 3,000 years ago, our species fought constantly. We had weapons that could crack planets. We had ships that could destroy entire star systems. We were on the edge of extinction. What changed? Jake asked. We met the Aquilians, Zethkar said. They were a peaceful species that had given up warfare centuries earlier. They showed us another way. They taught us that we could have peace if we were willing to give up the tools of war. And it worked, Jake said. Yes, Zethkar nodded. We destroyed our weapons. We banned military research. We redesigned our ships for exploration instead of combat. And we found peace. But you also made yourselves vulnerable, Jake pointed out. Vulnerable to what? Zethkar asked. Every species we have encountered has made the same choice we did. They have all chosen peace over war. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the peaceful scene below. What if you encounter a species that makes a different choice? That has never happened, Zethkar said. It's happening now, Jake replied. We're here, Zethkar joined Jake at the window. You have not attacked us, you came in peace. This time, Jake said. But what if the next species you meet doesn't come in peace? What if they see your peaceful civilization as an easy target? That would not happen, Zethkar said, but his voice was uncertain. How do you know? Jake asked. Have you explored the entire galaxy? Do you know every species that exists? Zethkar was quiet for a long time. We have explored perhaps 1% of the galaxy, he admitted finally. We assumed that any species advanced enough to travel between stars would eventually find us and choose to join our civilization. But we found you, and we might not join, Jake said. What if there are others like us? What if there are species that chose war over peace? Then we would negotiate with them, Zethkar said. What if they don't want to negotiate? Jake asked. What if they just want to take what you have? Zethkar turned away from the window. Captain Morrison, you are asking me to consider possibilities that we have spent 3,000 years believing would never happen. I know, Jake said gently. But they're not just possibilities anymore. We're proof that species can develop. Advanced technology without giving up their military capabilities. If we can do it, others can too. And you think we will encounter such species? Zethkar asked. I think it's inevitable, Jake replied. The galaxy is huge. There are billions of stars, millions of possible worlds where life could develop. Some of that life will choose peace like you did, but some will choose differently. Zethkar walked back to his chair and sat down heavily. If you're correct, then our entire civilization is at risk. Not if you're willing to change, Jake said. Not if you're willing to work with us. Work with you how? Zethkar asked. We help you develop defensive capabilities, Jake explained. Not weapons of conquest, but tools to protect what you've built. In exchange, you share your scientific knowledge with us. Together we explore the galaxy and contact new species, but we do it prepared for any possibility. You want us to become warriors again, Zethkar said sadly. No, Jake said firmly. We want you to become survivors. There's a difference. What difference? Zethkar asked. Warriors fight to conquer, Jake explained. Survivors fight to protect. You've built something beautiful here, a civilization based on cooperation and peace. But if you want to keep it, you need to be able to defend it. Zethkar stared out the window at his peaceful station. For 3,000 years, we have believed that peace was only possible if we gave up the ability to make war. Maybe that was true then, Jake said. But the galaxy is bigger than you thought, and not everyone in it shares your values. How do we know you are not one of those who would threaten us? Zethkar asked suddenly. Jake met the alien's eyes steadily. Because if we wanted to hurt you, we could have done it already. Your station is defenseless. Your ships are unarmed. We could have taken control of everything the moment we arrived. But you did not, Zethkar said. Because that's not who we are, Jake replied. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We compete to improve ourselves, not to destroy others. We've kept our weapons because we know the universe can be dangerous, not because we want to be the danger. The Grand Council chamber had never been so full. Every member of every species had come to hear the most important debate in galactic history. Captain Jake Morrison sat with his team in the center of the massive room, surrounded by thousands of alien beings who would decide the future of their civilizations. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center podium, his blue skin pale under the bright lights. Council members, he began. We face a decision that will change everything we have believed for 3,000 years. The chamber was silent. Even the youngest aliens understood the importance of this moment. The humans have shown us that our galaxy is not what we thought it was, Zethkar continued. We believed we were the only advanced civilization. We believed that any species that reached the stars would choose peace as we did. We were wrong. Counselor Vextani stood up, her golden feathers shining. Ambassador Zethkar, are you suggesting we abandon our peaceful ways? I am suggesting we learn to protect our peaceful ways, Zethkar replied. The humans have proven that it is possible to be both advanced and defensive. They have kept their ability to protect themselves while maintaining their desire for peace. Admiral Korthek rose from his seat, his massive frame casting a shadow across the chamber. These humans carry weapons of war. They have thinking machines that could turn against us. They represent everything we chose to leave behind. They also represent survival, Zethkar said firmly. If Captain Morrison is correct, there are other species in the galaxy who may not share our values. When we meet them, we will need the ability to defend ourselves. Dr. Yimla raised one of her tentacles. What exactly are the humans proposing? Jake stood up slowly. All eyes in the chamber turned to him. He had never felt such pressure in his life. The words he spoke in the next few minutes would determine the fate of two civilizations. We're not asking you to become warriors, Jake said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We're asking you to become prepared. You've built something beautiful here, a civilization based on cooperation, peace, and shared knowledge. But beauty without protection is vulnerable. What kind of protection? Asked Counselor Murdoch, the tree-like being. Defensive systems, Jake replied. Ways to protect your worlds and your people if someone tries to harm them. We can teach you how to build shields that protect without destroying. We can help you create warning systems that detect threats before they arrive. Chief Engineer Ryan Bell stepped forward. Council members, your technology is amazing, but it's all designed for peaceful purposes. With some modifications, we could help you create defensive barriers around your worlds. Not to attack others, but to protect yourselves. And what do you want in return? Admiral Korthik asked suspiciously. Knowledge, Dr. Helen Cross said. You've had 3,000 years to study the galaxy in peace. You've learned things about science, medicine, and technology that we're just beginning to discover. We want to learn from you. A partnership, Ambassador Patricia Stone added. Not one species ruling over another, but equals working together to explore the galaxy and contact new civilizations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens seemed excited by the possibilities. Others looked terrified. A few appeared angry at the suggestion that their peaceful ways might not be enough. Counselor Vextani called for order. Captain Morrison, what happens if we refuse your offer? Jake looked around the chamber at the thousands of faces watching him. Then we go our separate ways. We continue exploring the galaxy alone. You continue living as you have for 3,000 years, but if we're right about other species being out there, you'll face them without any help from us. Are you threatening us? Admiral Korthik growled. No, Jake said calmly. I'm warning you, the galaxy is huge. There are billions of stars out there, and we've barely explored any of them. Some of the species we meet will be peaceful like you. Others might be curious like us, but some might be hostile. When that happens, you need to be ready. Dr. Cross stepped forward with her computer. May I show you something? A holographic map appeared above the chamber, showing the entire galaxy. Tiny dots of light marked the locations of known civilizations. This is what we know about our galaxy, Dr. Cross explained. Your 47 species control this small area here. A small section of the galaxy lit up. Humanity controls this even smaller area here. Another tiny section appeared. Together we've explored less than 2% of the galaxy. The chamber fell silent as the aliens stared at the vast unexplored regions of the map. What's in all that empty space? Asked Dr. Yimla quietly. We don't know, Dr. Cross admitted. But mathematically, there should be thousands of other civilizations out there, maybe millions. Most of them are probably peaceful, but some might not be. Statistics suggest that at least a few species will have chosen war over peace, Jake added. When we encounter them, we need to be prepared. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Benjamin Clark stood up. Council members, I've studied your biology. You're all perfectly adapted to your homeworlds, but you can't easily survive in other environments. That limits how far you can explore. What does that have to do with anything? Admiral Korthik asked. It means you've only contacted species that live in similar environments to your own, Dr. Clark explained. You've never met species that evolved on harsh worlds or species that had to fight for survival every day. Those species might think very differently than you do. Sergeant Danny Wright, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Council members, with respect, you've created a perfect society by surrounding yourselves with other perfect societies. But the galaxy isn't perfect. It's dangerous, unpredictable, and full of species that might not want to join your peaceful civilization. What are you suggesting? Zethkar asked. I'm suggesting you need guardians, Danny said simply. People who can protect what you've built while you continue building it. Like you? Admiral Korthik asked suspiciously. Like us working together, Danny replied. You have the knowledge and the wisdom. We have the strength and the adaptability. Separately, we're both vulnerable. Together, we could protect this entire galaxy. The debate continued for hours. Some aliens argued that their peaceful ways had worked for 3,000 years and would continue to work. Others pointed out that they had never been tested by a truly hostile species. Finally, Councillor Vextani called for a formal vote. All those in favor of accepting the human proposal for a defensive partnership? Lights began appearing throughout the chamber as aliens voted. Jake watched nervously as the count climbed. Some sections of the chamber were solidly in favor. Others showed strong opposition. When the counting finished, Zethkar announced the results. The vote is 23,847 in favor, 18,932 opposed, with 3,221 abstentions. The proposal passes. The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered, others looked dismayed. A few began arguing loudly with their neighbors. "Order!" Zethkar called out. "The decision has been made. We will begin working with the humans too. Develop defensive capabilities while maintaining our peaceful values." Over the following days, the real work began. Ryan Bell worked with alien engineers to design shield systems that could protect entire worlds. Dr. Cross began sharing human medical knowledge with alien doctors. While learning about their advanced treatments, the most surprising development came from Danny Wright. The quiet soldier proposed creating a joint defense force made up of volunteers from all species. "You don't want to be warriors," Danny explained to a group of alien military leaders. "But some of your people might want to be protectors. There's a difference." "What difference?" asked Admiral Korthak. "Warriors fight to conquer," Danny said. "Protectors fight to defend. Warriors seek glory. Protectors seek peace. Warriors destroy. Protectors preserve." Within weeks, the first volunteers began training for the new Galactic Defense Force. They learned not just how to fight, but how to protect, how to rescue, and how to maintain peace through strength. Dr. Clark established joint medical research stations, where human adaptability could be studied and shared with other species. Soon, aliens who had been trapped on their homeworlds for centuries were learning to survive in new environments. The changes weren't just technological. The entire mindset of galactic civilization began to shift. For 3,000 years, the Council had looked inward, focusing on maintaining what they had built. Now they began looking outward, preparing for what they might encounter. Ambassador Stone established the first human embassy on Nexus Prime. It became a symbol of the new partnership between species, cooperation without domination, strength without aggression. "We're not changing what you are," Jake told the Council in his final address. "We're helping you become what you need to be to survive in a dangerous galaxy." 6 months later, the first joint exploration mission launched. Human and alien crews working together to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy. They were no longer hiding in their peaceful bubble. They were actively seeking new civilizations, ready to offer friendship to those who wanted it and protection to those who needed it. The age of limitation was over. The galaxy had found its guardians, and they were not just human or just alien. They were something new, a civilization that combined the wisdom of peace with the strength to protect that peace.